right here on KUTA TV in Cache Valley.
Maybe Jan and Laura should make one of their shows into a musical number. In addition to our very own stars, we also had another star visit. Cache Valley last week, presidential candidate Chuck Baldwin from the Constitution Party came all the way from Florida, and Scott Bradley got a one-on-one interview.
This past weekend, we had a presidential candidate visit Cache Valley. Chuck Baldwin from the Constitution Party flew in from Florida and spoke with news correspondent Scott Bradley. Now, Scott was able to ask this presidential candidate 3 important questions. Let's take a look.
We're here with presidential candidate Chuck Baldwin, running on the Constitution Party ticket. And while there's so much we'd like to ask you, Chuck, I'll ask you 3 quick questions, and hopefully you'll be able to give us a quick response, and we'll get a flavor for what you believe. First one has to do with education, prayer in school, education in general, federal government's involvement, things like that. Could you maybe give us a position on education?
That's a great question. And under our constitutional form of government, the Constitution is very clear that the things not specifically enumerated in the Constitution on behalf of the federal government are reserved exclusively to the states and the local communities. And nowhere in the Constitution does the federal government have the responsibility of overseeing education. Therefore, it is strictly the responsibility of the states and the local communities. So therefore, I would do everything in my power to repeal the No Child Left Behind Act. In fact, I'd like to repeal the entire Department of Education. As far as prayer in school, personally, I would encourage local school districts and school systems at the state and local level to allow their children to pray in school. I think you can see what's happened in America since we removed prayer in schools from our nation's schools. So I think that the states and local communities that want to do that should be allowed the opportunity to do that.
So it's a local decision. The federal government doesn't have any place in that.
Exactly right.
Okay. Let's just quickly touch upon your position on the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms.
I am a very strong proponent of the Second Amendment. I believe in the right of the people to keep and bear arms, I believe it's an individual right. It's not a collective right. And as president, I would do everything in my power to protect the right of gun owners to arm themselves against criminal elements, to be able to safely defend their lives and their families against those that would seek their harm. I would resist any effort at all to enact more gun control legislation. In fact, if I was able, if I had the power to do it, I would like to undo some of the gun control laws that have been put in place. But as a general statement, I strongly support the right to keep and bear arms.
Okay. This one, I think, bears a lot more time than perhaps we have, but the President of the United States has acted in the last several administrations more like a monarch, an elected monarch perhaps, but still a monarch, and has usurped perhaps in the minds of many people powers that were never delegated to him. Tell me how your presidential administration would differ from some of those things that have gone on in recent administrations.
In my mind as well. For example, invading and occupying other countries, the president doesn't have the constitutional right to do that. War, it must be declared by Congress. It cannot be waged unilaterally by the White House. So I would never send our troops to invade and occupy a foreign country without a declaration of war from Congress. Some of what President Bush has done, for example, in terms of the Patriot Act and the warrantless eavesdropping on the American people, spying on the American people without court order, totally ignoring the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution, illegal searches and seizures that have been going on in the auspices of protecting us and securing us. You know, Benjamin Franklin said, "They who give up essential liberty for temporary security deserve neither." And I will not trample the freedoms of the American people in the name of protecting them. It is incumbent upon us as elected representatives at whatever level of government, from the White House down to the local level, that all of us preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. That is the oath that I will take when I assume office, and I will take my oath very seriously.
That would be quite a refreshing change from what we've seen in the past.
Thank you, Scott.
Well, thank you for being here, Chuck Baldwin. It's an honor to have you here in our community, and we wish all the best for this upcoming election. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you very much.
Join us here on Tuesday at 5 p.m. for the full interview of presidential candidate Chuck Baldwin, right here on KUTA TV in Cache Valley.